Goldie Hawn's childhood was far from the joyful life her infectious smile later suggested. Born in Tacoma Park, Maryland, her home was filled not with lighthearted music, but with the sound of her father's saxophone playing late at night, often overshadowed by the tensions of daily life. Her mother, Laura, was determined to make sure Goldie had the opportunities she herself never had. From the age of 3, Goldie was enrolled in ballet classes, an endeavor her mother chose for her, not out of her own desire, but because it was seen as the path to success. The ballet studio became a second home, but it was also a harsh environment. The mirror reflected not only her progress, but also her perceived shortcomings, and the demands of her teachers, both cruel and exacting, planted the seeds of anxiety. Despite her discipline, Goldie felt she was never quite good enough. Ballet's unforgiving mirror, a foundation for anxiety. Goldie's ballet training became the backdrop for a childhood filled with emotional turmoil. As she worked tirelessly to perfect her form, the perfection expected of her remained elusive. Her body, too soft and too curvy in comparison to the other ballerinas, became a source of self-doubt. The demands of the studio, where every movement had to be flawless, only amplified her insecurities. With each correction, Goldie felt further from what was considered ideal. Along with her ballet training came a growing sense of anxiety. At first, small, but over time, it began to consume her. What started as mild discomfort before performances grew into full-blown panic attacks. The anxiety manifested as a tightening in her chest, leaving her with a persistent fear that something was always wrong. The teenage years, out of place in school and life school, was no sanctuary for Goldie. She wasn't the academic star, nor was she the popular girl. In a world where the labels shallow and pretty were used to define her, Goldie felt like an outsider. Her beauty became both a gift and a curse. Boys saw her blonde hair and assumed she was easy, while girls saw her smile and believed she was shallow. Neither group understood the depth of her insecurities or the anxiety she struggled to hide. At night, she would lie awake, her heart racing with self-doubt, wondering if she would ever be more than just a pretty face. As Goldie navigated her teenage years, she grappled with her sense of belonging, unsure of her place in a world that seemed to define her by everything but her true self. A choice for dance, a path of survival. At 16, Goldie made a decision that would shape her life. She would pursue dance professionally. Enrolling at American University, she also immersed herself in the local dance scene, taking any job she could find in Washington, D.C. Despite her passion and dedication, Goldie faced an unrelenting truth. The professional dance world had little interest in someone who looked like her. She was often told she was too blonde, too bouncy, and simply not the right fit for the serious roles she longed to play. Each rejection felt like a confirmation of her worst fears, that she would never be more than just a pretty face in the back row. But Goldie wasn't ready to give up. Despite the rejections, she continued to push forward, uncertain but determined, go-go dancing, a humbling yet transformative experience. In 1964, Goldie took a job as a go-go dancer at a club, a move that would later become a source of both shame and strength. The job was far from glamorous. The platform was sticky with spilled beer, and the audience was filled with men drinking too much and paying little attention. Goldie was dressed in short skirts and thigh-high boots, dancing to loud music in a way that felt degrading. She was forced to smile and act happy, but inside, she was ashamed of how far she had fallen from her dreams. However, it was on those go-go platforms that Goldie began to learn a vital lesson. She discovered how to command attention without apology. For the first time, she began to understand how to use what others dismissed, her body, her energy, her smile, as tools of empowerment. The Laugh-In breakthrough. America's favorite blonde Goldie was hired for Laugh-In in 1968, and the show quickly became a cultural phenomenon. With her bubbly smile and infectious giggle, she became the face of the show, drawing in audiences with her childlike charm. But the world saw only the happy, goofy blonde in a bikini and body paint. not the woman behind the smile. America loved her, but not for the reasons Goldie had hoped. She was reduced to the stereotype of the dumb blonde, a character who was cute, harmless, and laughable. This image became both a blessing and a curse, as Goldie was often dismissed as nothing more than a comedic decoration. She was objectified and commodified, her talents overshadowed by her appearance. Despite the fame, Goldie's anxiety worsened. Panic attacks plagued her, and she often cried alone in the shower, terrified that the world would soon realize she wasn't as happy as she appeared. The struggle with identity, more than just a smile. Goldie's anxiety became a silent companion, growing as she became more famous. While America adored her, she felt like a fraud. People believed she was just a carefree, giggling blonde, but Goldie knew there was so much more to her than the character she portrayed. She had spent years trying to prove that she was more than a pretty face, but the more she tried to show her intelligence and depth, the more people laughed. The disconnect between how the world saw her and how she saw herself became unbearable. She realized that while she was a star on the outside, she felt invisible on the inside. This internal struggle became even more apparent during the 1969 Emmy nominations. Despite the success of Laugh-In, Goldie wasn't nominated for any awards. Watching her colleagues receive recognition while she sat in the audience, smiling through her pain, marked a turning point. Goldie decided, then and there, that she would prove everyone wrong, not by complaining, but by becoming undeniably talented. Proving the world wrong. The audition for Cactus Flower. In 1969, Goldie auditioned for the romantic comedy Cactus Flower, a role that would shift the course of her career. Initially, the casting director saw her as just a giggling blonde, not someone capable of handling a serious role. However, Goldie was determined to prove herself. She approached the audition with the same energy and authenticity she had developed over the years, shedding her dumb blonde image and embracing her full potential. Her performance was unforgettable. The audition proved that Goldie was more than capable of delivering complex, meaningful performances, and it earned her the role. In that moment, she knew her greatest strength wasn't her smile or her appearance. It was her ability to prove people wrong, to transform their expectations into something entirely different. The transformation, Goldie's greatest achievement. Goldie's role in Cactus Flower would go on to earn her an Oscar, a recognition that few saw coming for the woman they had once called a dumb blonde. But Goldie's greatest achievement was not the award itself. It was how she had transformed rejection into power. She had spent years being underestimated, objectified, and dismissed, but she had turned all of that into fuel for her success. Goldie Hawn became not just an actress, but a producer, a businesswoman, and a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Her journey was not one of glamour, but of survival, strength, and perseverance. Despite the external image of a carefree, giggling star, Goldie was a woman who had learned to embrace her flaws, her struggles, and her unique strengths. She had finally proven to the world that there was far more to her than met the eye.